What's up, everybody? YuGiOh101 Archetype review. Yes, that's right, Archetype review. Oh, I know it's been a minute since I did one of these. It's been a long time. It's just that because it hasn't been any archetypes that have been appealing to me. It hasn't been one that really grabbed my interest, so to speak. There have been a few, and I do intend to do videos of those in the near future, but there haven't been any archetypes that really grasp my attention to where I would want to do an overview on them. Um, but yeah, this is one of them. This is the Haze Beast archetype. Uh, well, first let me tell you what I'm gonna do on the overview. I'm gonna give you like the backstory on it. Then I'm gonna review the monsters. Explain what the strategy is, and then I'm gonna speak on what I feel about Yugi Wiki's recommended cards because there's a few good ones in there that make sense. It's some that would be good for siding, into the side deck, for putting in the side deck. I mean, and then there's like one or two in there that are just straight stupid, But like I'm gonna talk about that when I get to them. But yeah, this is the Haze Beast archetype. They came out and they were introduced in the Jump Fiesta 2012 special card pack event. Um, you know, um, if you want to call it that. The event was, I say, last year in uh, December, and it was a 2 day event. On the first day was on the 17th, where like they released Pack A, and then on the 18th, they released Pack B. And in Pack A, the first Haze Beast monster was introduced, which was Haze Beast Hippogriffo. Um, and then just today in the OCG, Cosmo Blazer came out, which introduced the rest of the Haze Beast archetype monsters that I'm going to be reviewing. All the Haze Beast monsters are fire attribute. Yeah, never mind that. I heard something in the background, people making noise. But yeah, all of the monsters are fire attribute. They're all level 6. Um, and they range from Pyro, Beast, and Wing Beast monsters, and Beast Warrior monsters. Um, they specialize in all of them have a similar effect, uh, that they cannot be targeted by your opponent's card effects. Now, even though today, most people they use cards such as Dark Hole, Lightning Vortex, uh, um, Torrential Tribute, cards that can destroy monsters that don't target. It's good to have that option taken away from your opponent because there are one or two cards that are still being used to this day, um, that your opponent uses to target, your monsters on your side of the field. So this is pretty good to eliminate that option away from them, so you won't have those cards to worry about. Um, so that's monster effects, spell and trap card effects, etc. It just strips that away from your opponent, and all of them have that, with the exception of Basilocock. It has it, but Basilocock has a. I apologize for that. Yeah, I had lost my space. I had to pause the video for a second and handle some business, But yeah, all the monsters are fire attribute. They're all level 6. They all have the ability to prevent your opponent from targeting you with card effects, monsters, spells, traps, etc. Um, with the exception of Basilocock, because it has that ability, but it requires more Exceed materials to be added onto it, which, you know, I'm gonna which you'll get a better understanding of it once I speak on the monster. They have two support cards, Haze Glory and Haze Pillar, both that allows you to normal summon your Haze Beast monsters with one less tribute than required, and since they're only level 6, it takes away any need for tributes at all, so you can just normal summon them like, regular level 4 monsters, which is pretty good and really helpful in every sense of the word. So, without further ado, yeah, let's get into the monsters. Okay, so first up we have Haze Beast Cerberus. Now, Cerberus is supposed to be like this guard dog of hell. Mind you, all Haze Beast monsters are named after mythical creatures. That's one thing I forgot to mention. They all are named after mythological creatures. And, yeah, this one is the mythological creature, the guard dog of hell, Cerberus. Now, Haze Beast, Cerberus, its effect is you can normal summon this card without tributing, but its original attack becomes 1000. This face-up card cannot be targeted by your opponent's card effects. When this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can add one Haze Beast card from your deck to your hand. One Haze card from your deck to your hand. So that's support cards and monsters, all that, anything with Haze in it. There you go. So this is the search monster out of the group. Obviously, it's meant to take a hit, but if you can get it on the field, 2000 attack, that's pretty decent, for the effect that it has, like that works pretty well. And, you can normal summon it without the need of having the two support cards there, but I'm going to get into that when I get into those two cards. But, yeah, Haze Beast Cerberus, that's the first one. And next, scroll down. There we go. Haze Beast Grips. Of course, this one is a winged beast. Haze Beast Cerberus was a beast. This is the Griffin, the mythological Griffin. Yeah. Let's take a look at this. This effect. This thing has 5 legs. I don't know if they fucked up that card artwork or. Wait, let me see. I think I see 6, but it looked like it got 5. I don't know. I think they could have did that card artwork better. Like with the feet and whatever. But, like that's for another time. But yeah, this monster's effect is if your opponent controls a monster and you have no non-fire monsters on your side of the field, you can special summon this card from your hand. This card cannot be targeted by your opponent's card effects. So if you don't have any non-fire monsters, in other words, if you have any other type of monster on your side of the field other than fire, you won't be able to special summon this card. Or in your graveyard as well. So you got to make sure that if you're going to run this, you have to have pure fire monsters. Otherwise, you won't be able to special summon it. Otherwise, you won't be able to take advantage of that special summon. Obviously, this card is meant for more of a defensive game, because 200 attack, that won't get you jack squat unless you use some type of attack and defense switch card like Sword and Shield. But for this archetype strategy, like that's kind of far-fetched to throw a card in there like that. But yeah, so that's it. This guy is meant for more of a defensive game, and it can be special summoned from your hand. Granted that all you have in your graveyard or on your field are fire monsters. So let's move on to the next guy. I'm sorry if you hear a lot of background noise. That's my nephew acting a fool. But yeah. So this was this is the first card that got introduced, that pretty much introduced the entire archetype. This is Hippogriffo, and I don't know what this is. So let's take a look at the trivia real quick. I don't know what type of monster this is. A hippogriff is a mythological creature that is a hybrid of a griffin and a horse. I guess that kind of makes sense. I don't know why they call it Hippogriffo then. Like, why don't they call it like horse or griffo? I don't, things like that I don't question. Yeah, let me turn this back up. Okay. So yeah, this is the first Haze Beast monster that was introduced, and when I first seen this, I thought it was an okay card, just by itself. But I was curious because normally when they do with cards like this, at that time I was thinking normally what they do with cards like this is they have new cards come out with that same surname or archetype name. Uh, and eventually they did, of course, but I still thought this was a pretty good card by itself. So let's take a look at it at its effect. Your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. Once per turn, you contribute one fire monster you control. This card gains 300 attack. So this is like the main attack monster out of the group. Out of those regular cards, this is the main attacker. And on top of the fact you contribute one fire monster, you'll be able to use this outside of the archetype, which is good. And you contribute other fire monsters, and you can increase this monster's attack, and it's permanent for as long as it stays up on the field, stays face up on the field. My bad. You got to be more elaborate because some people will take it the wrong way. Next thing you know, they cheating in the game and you're referring to my video. But yeah, Hippogriffo, it was a good card by itself, but it just makes more sense now that it's with its archetype. You know what I mean? So let's move on to the next one. Haze Beast Periton. Pop-ups. Yeah, Haze Beast Periton. Looks like a Pegasus and a Tuntun, whatever the fuck that is. So it's a fictional character, a Periton, which is pretty much like a deer in with wings. Like that's pretty much like the best way that I can explain a Periton. It's a deer with wings. I looked it up prior to making this video, so that's said and done. Okay, so Haze Beast Periton. Description: must be special summoned by the effect of a Haze Beast monster and cannot be special summoned by other ways. This face-up card cannot be targeted by your opponent's card effects. You can send one fire monster from your hand to the graveyard. When tribute this card, special summon two Haze Beast monsters from your deck. You can only use the Haze Beast Periton once per turn. So you can't use two Peritons in the same turn, pretty much. Which is fair, in all honesty. Because people going crazy with massive summons and, create a shitload of special summons these days. It's good to have that restriction on a monster like this. It's very refreshing, So this card must be special summoned by the effect of a Haze Beast monster. Cannot be special summoned other ways. The rulings haven't came out with it, but I'm pretty sure you can still normal summon this monster. You can still normal summon it, but it's saying if you're going to special summon it, then it has to be by the effect of a Haze Beast monster. You can't be special summoned other ways. Of course, it can't be targeted by your opponent's card effects, as is with all Haze Beast monsters. And you can send one fire monster from your hand to your graveyard. Then tribute this card to special summon two Haze Beast monsters from your deck. Obviously, that's a good thing, because if you can get two Haze Beast monsters, two level 6 fire type monsters. Oh, this monster is pyro. I said all the Haze Beast monsters were beast and wing beast. This one is completely pyro. So, okay, that's a surprise, but alright. But yeah, you can get two level 6, monsters out to exceed summon into Basilicock. And, you can get him out, which is the big ace monster of this entire archetype, or the boss monster of this archetype. So yeah, so let's take a look at the next monster, and it is Haze Beast Sphinx. Scroll down for a minute. Haze Beast Sphinx. Now, obviously from the name, you can tell what monster this what mythological creature this monster is supposed to, emulate. Yeah, so let's take a look at this monster's effects and what does it bring to the archetype. This face-up card cannot be targeted by your opponent's card effects. Once per turn, you can declare one card type, monster, spell, or trap. Send the top card of your deck to the graveyard, and if it is the declared type, you can special summon one fire monster from your hand or graveyard. You can only use the effect of Haze Beast Sphinx once per turn. So this is the searcher slash. Well, this is like the 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 what's the word I'm looking for? The special summoner. I'll just say of the group. It's gonna really aid in helping getting a lot of those monsters out that you may need. It maybe it's in your graveyard, maybe it's in your hand. Of course, it's like a um, guessing game with this card. You declare one card type, you mill one from the top, and if it's the card you call out, you'll be able to special summon, a fire monster from your hand or your graveyard. So this can be used outside of the archetype as well, which is good. Um, yeah, so moving on to the other two support, or the other two Haze cards, which are the support cards in the archetype. Um, see, first up we have Haze Glory, and it is a trap card. And you said you contribute summon Haze Beast monsters with one less tribute than required. You can send this face-up card you control to the graveyard to target one Haze card in your graveyard. Add that target to your hand. Um, yeah, so this is to help you recycle, obviously, the Haze monsters or the Haze support cards that you may need, on top of the fact that it gives you the ability to tribute summon a Haze Beast monster with one less tribute than required. Um, moving on to Haze Pillar. Um, we have Haze Pillar, and it's a continuous spell card. Description: you contribute summon Haze Beast monsters with one less tribute than required. Once per turn, you can target one Exceed monster you control, attach one Haze Beast monster you control or in your hand to that target as an Exceed material. So, with in between Haze Glory and Haze Pillar, you have a maximum of 6 cards that can allow you to tribute summon a Haze Beast monster with one less tribute than required. Thus, both of them giving you the ability to normal summon, those level 6 Haze Beast monsters without any tribute at all. You can just normal summon them. So that's pretty good to have. Now, Pillar is for, obviously, that's for Basilicock, and I'm going to get to Basilicock in a minute. Haze Glory is for, recycling your Haze cards, your monsters in, maybe if you have Haze Pillar or some other Haze Glories in the graveyard. Wait, let me click back. Um, yeah, even Haze Glory can be targeted by its own effect. So, yeah, you can recycle Haze Pillar and other Haze Glories you may have in a graveyard that you feel like you may need in later turns, and you're on your last one. You can just what I'm saying, like you can get that one back like before your opponent has the chance to use Heavy Storm on it or MST or any other monster effect or any other card that has the ability to destroy spell or trap cards. So these are definitely two cards that you are going to need in running this archetype. And then we get to the ace of the bunch. You get to the ace, Haze Beast Basilicock, and this is the big ace. It's an Exceed monster, of course, rank 6, attack 2500, and it has like a nice list of effects here. So let's look at this thing. It takes 2 or more level 6 fire monsters, maximum 5. Once per turn, you can detach 1 exceed material from this card to target one monster your opponent controls or in their graveyard. Banish that target. This card gains effects based on the number of exceed materials it has. 3 or more, it gains 200 attack and defense for each exceed material attached to it. 4 or more, this card cannot be targeted by your opponent's card effects. 5, this card cannot be destroyed by card effects. So the more you add on, even though it only takes 2 to exceed something into it, the more you add to it, you can use Haze Pillar to add more monsters to it, you know, to add more monsters to it as exceed materials in order to gain these other effects. Now, all the other Haze Beast monsters, they have the effect of where they can't be targeted by your opponent's cards uh, effects. This card needs 4 or more cards in order to gain that. At least 4 cards to gain that. So that's something to keep in mind when you summon this thing, because you may be so used to not being able to be targeted by your opponent's card effects by using the regular monsters that you completely forget that when you summon this, and then it's like, oh man, I need 4, monsters in order to gain that effect with this. But yeah, and again, forgive that background noise if you can hear that. Um, you know, but this is a very, I would say, like a very straightforward archetype. It's nothing too fancy about it. Uh, I think it's cool. I think it's okay. Um, going around jingling keys, but yeah, that's my nephew, by the way. I don't know if I already told you, but yeah. Now we're getting into the recommended cards that Yu-Gi-Oh Wiki suggested. Now, I don't really look at cards like this because I don't look at Yu-Gi Wiki suggestions because some of them are straight stupid. Like for example, Samsara Kaiser. Why the hell would you even run this in this bill? Why would this be a recommended card? Now, I understand it. I understand it. It's a tribute. It's a monster that pretty much is only made for tributing, and you get to return it back to your hand. But why would I want to bother to do that in the archetype like this? That messes up its consistency. You know what I'm saying? Um, I'm guessing maybe if you were to mix it up with other cards that they have here, maybe it would make more sense. But I can't see it. They have the Power Rex, the Elemental Lord. I don't like those Elemental Lord cards for the simple fact is that they have a huge drawback. If you lose them, you won't be able to, enter your battle phase the next turn. Let me see. Yeah, like you gotta skip your battle phase for your next turn, and that could really hurt you. That's a major drawback. A lot of people don't realize that you could be one attack away from winning the game. And then for some reason, like you end up losing that like one of those elemental lords, you got to skip your battle phase, and then your opponent ends up getting a turnaround on you. Their following turn, or they draw something that they need in order to take you out instead. You know, and this is Yu-Gi-Oh. You know what I'm saying? Like you want to win the, the match. Obviously, you want to win the match, but you know those elemental lords are very, you know, are very iffy for me. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't use them, but hey, as the old saying goes, to each his own. Let's see there. Flameville Dog, Flame Mech Shiryu, Amaryllis. I think is this that? Yeah, this that new. card that's supposed to replace or is supposed to be like the knockoff of a like Lone Fire Blossom or something like that. During your main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard. Once per turn, you contribute summon a monster with one less tribute than required. Okay, see, this is a good suggestion, in a sense. But when you have 6 cards that are already doing that, on top of the fact when you have Haze Beast Cerberus that can normal summon itself and search out, all the other Haze cards that you need, I mean, is it really necessary to run that? You know, I mean, I can understand like it's good to have it in your side deck, but I don't see the need to have that card. Now, mind you, it is a good suggestion, but uh, to me, like I don't see where it's actually needed. Flame Mech Shiryu. You can normal summon this card by tributing one monster. If you do, during each of your end phases, take 1,000 damage. If this card attacks a defense position monster, uh, inflict piercing damage to your opponent. So I wouldn't even bother with that because all the Haze Beast monsters are level 6. That's a level 8. The purpose is to get out level 6 exceeds. You know, uh, of course with Bastard Clock, but the Haze Beast can bring out other level 6 exceeds. That's their strategy. Um, so Flame X Shiryu, I see that as a good attacking card. Maybe if you're going for like a beatdown strategy, maybe, but I don't really see the need for that one either. You know, we have Goka, the Pyre of Malice. You can special summon this card from your hand if you control a fire monster. When this card is special summoned this way, destroy one fire monster you control. During the standby phase, special summon one fireball token, pyro type, fire, level 1, attack 100, defense 100, in defense position. You contribute one other fire monster you have to have this card gain 500 attack. Uh, Straight trash. Don't even. It's not even necessary. That's pretty much like a bad suggestion to me. Like understand, like when I run, like when I make decks, I make cards that just make sense. Sometimes in the TCG we just have this thing with overcomplicating things. You know what I mean? And I'm pretty sure that a lot of you will agree with me on that. We have this deal where we overcomplicate things. We put monsters or spells or traps in builds that don't need them. You know what I'm saying? And this is one of them. We don't need Goka, the Pyre of Malice. Why would you recommend that? That can fuck up somebody's build. Major. But whatever. Like I said, to each his own. So over to the spells. Now, Rekindling, this is actually a card that I use because Hippogriffo and Cerberus are both like they both have 200 defense. First, let's look at it. It's a normal spell card. Special summon from your graveyard as many fire monsters as possible with 200 defense. During the end phase, remove from play all fire monsters that were special summoned by this effect. This is good. This is good because Haze Beast, Hippogriffo, and Haze Beast Cerberus, they both have 200 defense, so there are targets for this card. And using Sphinx, you can dump fire monsters in your graveyard, and you can special summon one from your hand instead. Then use, Rekindling to special summon 2 more fire monsters from your graveyard. Obviously, the level 6 Haze Beast monsters, and exceed summon into what you need them into. Let's take a look at these other cards. Exceed Burst. If you control a rank 6 or higher monster, destroy all set cards your opponent controls. That's a good suggestion. That's a good suggestion. Exceed unit and generation. Exceed unit and overlay rain. These are both supposed to be exceed substitute. Exceed substitutes. Um, I don't know if. Let me see. Nope. Yep. It'll work. It's based on the number of exceed materials that it has. So those supposed to act as substitute exceed materials in order for like Basilicok to gain those other effects quicker. So that's a pretty good suggestion. Generation Force. Um, I think this is supposed to increase the attack. Why did they send me to Generation Force? I know I've seen that card. You know what? I'm not finna scroll down all of this because, like, forgive me if you've seen it and I passed it up or something. Yeah, but I did a review on that card, so I'm not 100% sure as to what the card does. Like, I can't remember. Like, I believe it increases the attack of the Exceed monster, like just depending on how many Exceed materials it has on it. Or maybe I'm thinking of another card. My fault. But, yeah. So, Traps, Ultimate Offering, meant to get other cards out. Um, this is good for sighting. I don't necessarily think this is needed. It can't help, but it's not a stupid suggestion. I'm gonna just say it like that. It's a good recommendation. Um, Obviously, so you can get more of your Haze Beast monsters out, and you can exceed into Basilicok quicker. Exceed Reborn. It's just a monster reborn for exceeds, and you can attach that trap card to the exceed monster you revived as an exceed material. Haze Glory, we already went through that. Call it a haunted. Um, that's one of those quote unquote staples, but I already spoke my opinion on that in past videos. Spiritual Fire Art Kurenai. That's a good suggestion because in the event that you may need to just burn away, say like, you know, however much life points your opponents have left, or like however many life points your opponent have left, you can just burn them away instead of have to worry about attacking. Which actually comes with the risk of, you know, getting deprisoned or Sakuretsu armored or, having a monster effect activate. Like it's one of those safer moves that you can use. So yeah, as far as like the recommendations, I think overall like the monster recommendations outside of the Haze Beast um archetype. Hold on, there's two more before I'm done with this. Lava Lancelord. You can normal summon this card without tributing. If you do, during the end phase, send it to the graveyard. When this card on the field is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can target one of your banished fire monsters. Add that target to your hand. So that's a good side monster to have. That's a good side deck monster to have. So that's actually a great recommendation. You want to have that just in case you're going up against one of those banished decks. You have something to get your monsters back. So we have Manticore of Darkness, and this card's description: during the end phase of any turn, this card is sent to the graveyard. You can send one Beast Warrior, or Winged Beast type monster from your hand to or your side of the field to the graveyard to special summon this card from the graveyard. So that's iffy. That's another one of those iffy cards. I'm not really sure that I would run that personally, but you know, it's whatever though. But yeah, so this is a pretty straightforward archetype. It's nothing that we really haven't seen before, but at the same time, it does have its perks. All the monsters have the ability to not be targeted by your opponent's card effects, which takes away that option from your opponent. Um, all the monsters are level 6, so you can bring out level 6 exceeds, you know, out quick. With the exception of Haze Beast Basilicok, You know, in order for it to gain that, can't be targeted by your opponent's card effects. It needs 4 monsters. The support cards are very helpful. Like running an archetype that has high level monsters in it isn't the easiest thing in the world to do. Yeah, I apologize for those audio spikes, but yeah, it's a straightforward archetype. You know, they have the ability to, it's not easy running an archetype with all monsters being, level 6. Because you need some tributes in order to get some level 6 out under normal circumstances. But with the Haze Beast support cards, you know, you can you can lessen that burden by being able to normal summon them when you have those cards out. Haze Glory can recycle all your Haze cards. Haze Beast Pillars can add more um, to Haze Beast Basilicock. And it can add more Haze Beast monsters to Basilicock in order for Basilicock to gain its effects. But with the suggestions, you can use Exceed Unit, or you can use, or more rather, Overlay Regain or Rigging to to help it gain those effects quicker. So pretty much, I think the archetype is it's pretty cool. Like it's nothing too fancy, but it's interesting at the same time. You know, so yeah, that's going to conclude this archetype overview. Like I know I had some parts that were kind of iffy because of the background noises. I do apologize for that. Um, but yeah, so that's gonna be it for this one. See you guys for the next archetype overview, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.